So I'll try to move through this as quickly as possible. The point or the purpose is to plan and organize my wedding. I used a few different formulas ultimately to create the summary page that offers a breakdown of bride guests versus groom guests, adults versus children, an overview of the expenses, and a visual representation of my savings plan. So I created an agenda that subtracts the end time from the start time to come up with a duration, added those all together to create a sum that shows the total event duration is 12.59 hours, or 12 hours and 59 minutes. The expenses overview is actually a representation of headings, or like total categories, and what their total is based on a percent. So I took 50% and multiplied it by the total, and I went through each of these total heading categories and applied different percents based on recommendations from a wedding magazine. And then for each of these sub expenses underneath these umbrellas, I did the same thing. I took a percentage and multiplied it by the total allocated for each of that. I used conditional formatting to create data bars here to get a quick visual read to see where the primary expense allocations are coming from. To create the pie charts here, I created a guest list that have, the name of the guest, the household, the side they are, and whether they're an adult or a child. I did an if formula to add ones for the children. If it's blank here, that means it's a child. I multiplied, or I added these two columns for total guests, and I added each individual column and divided it by 115 to understand the percent. For households, I actually used a pivot chart. I took the data and I just highlighted the households and got a count of 47. And then for the savings plan, I took 50% from the total budget on the expense overview tab. I entered my beginning balance and input of how much I could save per month. And so I started with the beginning balance and added it to the July's savings amount. And I took each, new balance and added $1,000 to it until I came to $1,500, which means that in order to come up with the goal, the wedding would have to be no later than May, or excuse me, no earlier than May. This other pivot chart is where I derived the bride versus groom pie chart. So I took the information from here and created here. I did this just in case it made sense for my share to be increased, maybe 61% instead of 39%, and in which case I could add 61 here and could make adjustments to the total amount of savings accordingly. And so I would have to contribute quite a bit more. I could play with this until I come up with a number that's close aligned to the 1600. But that will do it for this recording.